We're live.
Hey, what's up, folks? I am not forgetting my lines this time. I botched real bad last week. This is Tell Us About Yourself. I'm Dustin Garman, of course. And of course, if you want to throw chairs at my co host,
What?
do it.
What? No, 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 no. Well, I am GBBT, the co-host. If you give subscribes, I will get hit with chairs. So, love-hate
And
relationship.
our featured guest today is none other than Collin Simon and his lovely wife. You may know her as Sherry Von Danish, but Ciara Simon. How y'all doing?
Pretty
Good.
good. How are
Good.
you?
Pretty good. I just want to go over a few announcements real quick. Of course, I was happy to see it. Sadly, I wasn't there last night, but I was glad to hear that Bob Dunn was in a tournament playing online. I seen his promo, so good things there. Also, want to say that it seems like Joshua Bryan is kind of he has a little bit of more I guess you can say a better, good update post I saw. So remember, just keep remembering him, of course. Um, Other than that, upcoming events, Mizzo's is fixing to happen in what, a week and a half? Yeah, week and
Misos.
a half. Misos. Did I say Misos? Botch. I just keep watching, folks. But anyway, Mizzo's CAC coming up. That's going to be April the 15th. And also, Drew Matson is going to play Ken Fouché for United States Championships. I announced the other day. Also, upcoming U.S. tournament. Get your if you're a former United States Championship. I don't know what's wrong with me, folks. If you're a former United States champion, get your promos in by tomorrow, the deadline. But other than that, that is all I've got today. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good.
So this is y'all's first time being on the show, and one thing I was kind of wanting to go through. I was kind of wanting to go through is you had a character, Colin, that you released years ago, and it's a zombie.
Mhm. Yeah.
What?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, sorry, I was gonna say what come of that.
What came
So
of?
that, yeah, so that character, yeah, Zombie was released, I think, in 2019, I believe. Um, that was a culmination character of after I decided that wanted to play this game and love this community. I was like, yeah, I got to make a character. I believe he's part of one of the Kickstarter waves. I think it actually may have been number one in the backers. Um, Basically, it's a character I've had for, I mean, probably over 20 years, because I actually developed that character back in probably the mid 90s, even playing like the old video games, making characters, fantasy characters. And then I actually used it and developed it through, I spent some time in pro wrestling school around 2004. So it's just been kind of continuing on since then. And I've kind of used it for various media. And now I've unleashed it into the SRG universe. So it's kind of it's gone through a lot of iterations and different things. But I think now it's got its perfect home so to share with everybody else. And you can play the character in my favorite game now. So
Dare I ask, where did the three-handed moss-covered Abernathy family card nuzzle? But I don't even know how to pronounce the entire thing.
It's the
Yeah.
moss-covered three-handled Abernathy family credunzel.
Credunzel. Okay.
So that there, many people know Chris Jericho, the actual wrestler. He had a list that actually was an anniversary of it just the other day, back in the mid to late 90s, that he read off of all his moves. And there was a move very similar to it on that list. So I kind of, to pay homage to him, I kind of took it and made it my own, added a couple words. And it actually, I used to do a wrestling tabletop game. And in that game, my character Zombie was kind of a comedic character.
Mhm.
So that's where I was like, I don't do submissions. So I just came up with the goofiest, funniest sounding name I could.
Fair enough.
Which was the longest name in the game until I think Mr. Schmidt beat it. But had the record for a little while.
But
Yeah,
you started it.
the legendary lock, I think, or something along those lines.
It kind of And kind of speaking of Chris Jericho, y'all actually debuted in Super Show, the game right on his cruise ship, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did. So we went on the Chris Jericho cruise, the first one, as our honeymoon. So we got married in September of 2018, and then the cruise was in October. We initially went with some friends, but then it ended up just being the two of us. And one of Collin's friends who lived in Pennsylvania was like, "Hey, man, like, I've been trying to get you to play this game called Super Show, and they're actually one of the sponsors for the Chris Jericho cruise, so you should definitely check them out." And he's like, "Okay, I definitely want to make a point of like checking them out and at least seeing them." And there was a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, we were in the first World Championship tournament for SRG in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, there was like Sami Callihan was there, Ortiz, Conan was there, just a lot of different pro wrestlers. And I remember building decks in our guest room at like 1:00 in the morning, and I have no idea how to play the game. But Joey Ryan was an available character, and we bought him. And I was like, I'm gonna play Joey Ryan. This is gonna be great. Now that I think about it, I'm like, oh my god, I don't even know what I was doing. If I knew now, or then what I know now, I probably would have done things a lot differently. But it was fun. I think I played 2 games, won 1 and lost 1, and that was kind of it. I think there was like maybe like 15 or 20 people in the tournament, but it was fun, and it's how we ended up making BCW, which is Columbus's local SRG group. We met the Overbees. They were flying out of Columbus to go on the cruise, and that's how we became friends with them. James Hand, who's part of the community, we met him as well, and that kind of got us connections with Michael Kirk, Bobby Ohio, Primetime Justin Stein, Nick Mullins Masters. You might know those as Girthquake. We kind of met up with those guys after we got back from the cruise and started our own community here.
Nice. And so even with the game being a completely different game pretty much back when it originally or when you played it then to now, you well, not so much but Collin has had some newer characters rolled out. We still have just Cherry Von Danish, correct? For you?
Yes, and I'm also part of a trio, Happy Birthday with Economics and Mr. Biologist.
But what was the original concept behind the Cherry Von Danish? I mean, Baker, yes, but how did it come to be?
So, I am a baker. I've been a professional chef for 17 years now. And I had just started, I started a baking apprenticeship right around the time that we started playing SRG. And I was sitting in the bakery with a friend of mine, and she was a graphic artist. And she's like, if you could be a character in a comic book and it was about pastries, what would you be? And I was like, oh, I would be a Cherry Danish because I love Cherry Danishes. And her name would be Sherry Von Danish because I just was like, that's very punny. I love the play on words. And she's like, oh, that's really cool. So then when we were kind of talking about like Super Show characters and like gimmicks and, Collin had already had Zombie, he was like, what kind of character do you want to present to the community? And it's always really great to take like from your life and kind of like put that. I mean, you see a lot of pro wrestlers who, like Britt Baker, being a dentist, like she uses that as part of her character when she wrestles. So I was like, at the time, there's somebody in the community who was a chef. So I was originally going to be like the wrestling chef, but he kind of beat me to it. So I was like, well, baking is one of my strong suits too. Let me kind of lean into this a little bit. And so that's kind of how Sherry Von Danish came about.
Okay. And then, like I was saying earlier, Collin, you now have a new character out, Collin the Chrononaut. How did that character come to be?
So I have kind of a love for time travel genre. Also, I kind of was looking at, like, Zombie's an awesome character, but you can't really tell it's me. And as I'm playing Super Show, I see a lot of people release characters that you look at and you go, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. You know exactly who that person is. So I wanted to create a character that kind of signified me personally. And I had one of my local artists, Raphael, did a great job translating that onto a card. And then, it was really neat to just kind of have me in the game and not just some character I came up with. And then of course that kind of spilled over into the Time Travelers Tornado as well, because Keith Overby, the frequent flyer, he was of course with us when we started BCW. So I wanted to kind of pay homage to hey, he was kind of one of the originals with us. So that's where that tag team came from as well.
That was your tag team that released what? Not it wasn't that too long ago, correct?
Yeah, it was during the Time Warp Kickstarter, actually.
Yeah, the Time Traveler Extraordinaire.
Yeah, Time Traveler Extraordinaire.
But so, where did like the gimmick come from? Like, did you talk to boss about the stuff? Did you come up with some of it yourself?
Yeah, so the only things I really came up with, I know I wanted the strike to be specifically something that copied. It's very similar to Overdog's submission move, for those who know Overdog, just because I kind of like the copying thing. When I used to play other card games, I was a big fan of the mechanic that lets you copy things, or clone things, if you will. So I really like the strike gimmick. I think the rest of it I left the boss to fill out, and of course I named the moves. But the actual gimmick it was kind of I used to play Mr. Ray very early on, and it's kind of a reverse Mr. Ray, which is I think funny because now I think I am the same slot that Mr. Ray would be in a mystery box. So I've kind of again kind of continued that tradition of having this character that kind of swap things around as their ability. I think also well time travel. I'm going back in time and pre-planning, or going forward and pre-planning. So it was a mechanic I really wanted to use and kind of bring back, because only one character had it so far.
I was a Mr. Ray fan myself. I had built him since he had came out, so I enjoy your character as well. Now to get into Sherry Von Danish, how did you come up with the concept with that?
So when I first started playing, after we got back to Columbus, I had never really been a card game player. I had played a little bit of board games, but I didn't really get into gaming until we started dating back in 2014. So Collin taught me Magic a little bit of Raw Deal. So I kind of got my feet wet as far as how to build decks and what things do. But I had started playing Italian Bombata for a while, and for a lot of 2019 I ended up playing him. I actually got to meet him at Grand Gathering 1 and was playing his character, and so I really liked the idea of being able to kind of like search my deck for what I needed and the tools that I need to beat my opponent. So Bombata being when you roll submission, or I think it's your opponent. I don't remember.
Your opponent rolls tech.
Yeah,
submission.
Submission. Yeah, when your opponent rolls submission, you can look for a lead or follow-up submission and then show it to him, put it in your hand. So I kind of wanted to do the same thing, but with technique, because being a baker, technique is super important. To make sure your stuff looks good. And so I also like keywords too. I feel like there's a lot of versatility and creativity that you can do with keywords. So to kind of go with the theme of being a baker, rolls, cuts, chops. We thought about corner for like cornbread, because I was the originator of the throws cornbread from the crowd. But we stuck with the first three. And originally I wanted to be able to find my my grapple finish, but boss said that was a little bit too powerful. So he gave me just a slightly different ability with that. So it's fun, especially because when we originally built the deck, there wasn't a whole lot of support for it, but we were trying to be creative with it. And then since then, like a ton of like rolls, cuts, and chops have come out. So it's been fun to kind of tech the deck and see how those new cards fit in.
Oh, most definitely. Every single time a new card comes out, trigger words continuously get added to spots that you never thought they would be at. You get these cards with 14 words in one thing, so it hits every single tech that it can.
Yeah.
There's a new cutter come out in the old school pack, I believe. So.
Yeah, now too.
Okay, so let's talk about some of your history in the competitive rankings of Super Show. You're a former Midwest Coast champion. You lost it to Bob Odell. How was that run? How did you feel about it?
It was good. It was kind of an unexpected opportunity to get a shot against Bobby Ohio for the Midwest Coast Championship. I was approached by the GM. We were having our CAC last year. And he's like, hey, I definitely want to do a featured match for the Midwest Coast. And, I feel like you've definitely been playing pretty strongly in your locals. How would you feel about getting an opportunity? I think this would be a really great kind of feud for you and Bobby. And it was lovely. It was so much fun. We just ran with it with our promo and stuff. So Bobby and I have a history of butting heads when we play our characters. So it doesn't matter how many times we play it. I always whoop his butt for whatever reason. That triggers my gimmick every time, and he will tell you that he'll be rolling, and he's just five technique, five. And it's just I can't just stop. So I definitely have his goose there, but so yeah, it was really cool to win my first LFF title. I've been playing for a few years, and I don't really play online very much just because I have such an early schedule. So not a lot of people knew who I was, and didn't really see me in tournaments outside of big conventions. So that was really cool. And then when we went to Rustmania up in Cleveland, getting to play Bob. I love Bob Odell. He has been one of my favorite people in this community. He's just such a light, and he's just so friendly and welcoming. So it was hard because we're such good friends. It's always kind of sucks to play your friends sometimes for championship matches. But it was good. Once he got going though, he just kind of squashed me. So I just kind of took the L, and there was no hard feelings, and we had a good time after that.
It is awesome to get to play against people that you love, get to lose to people that you enjoy. That is always a pleasure. Collin, you've held 4 different titles. You've held the inaugural Midwest Coast Tag Champs with Keith Overby. Yep. You were an intergalactic champion. Yeah. You were the previous U.S. title champion. Just lost it at the Grand Gathering. And before, you were in a tag team with Danny Thunder and held the LFF tag team titles. Yeah. Which do you feel most significant in your career?
I would have to say probably the U.S. title. Just because that was truly the one I really did under my own power. With the tag titles, I have to share the credit with my partners in that. So that's always great to win those tag titles. Because I actually have another shot coming up here shortly, because I just won the Grand Gathering 3 tag tournament. But apparently I'm good at tags. But yeah, it's funny because I'm the last person you'll hear ask for a title shot. I just kind of continue to drift along and be a good sport, and somehow I end up in these title matches, and I've just been able to be lucky and make the most out of those opportunities. And with the US, I was like, man, I really did play well. I set my sights on it, and I got it. So it was one of those things where that was almost completely under my own power. The intergalactic title was a nice surprise, but that kind of happened at the end of Marktoberfest on kind of whim, so I didn't really have a lot of time to prepare for it. But it was also a pretty cool moment, because I was kind of in shock, like, oh, I just won a belt, literally 5 minutes ago I didn't even know I had the shot, and then I had it. So yeah, I just kind of I don't know, I guess I could use the terminology, I drift into these shots, and then I somehow walk away with titles.
Awesome. I will be right back. Go ahead, Dustin.
Alrighty. And just kind of, I was wanting to touch a little bit, you had a big Grand Gathering. Even though you did lose the United States Championship, you won the World Tag Team Champion. How do you feel about that?
Oh, that was an amazing experience, just because Doug Smith, the guy that I won with, both of us are kind of invisible because we play a lot locally. So a lot of BCW, we're not online, but we do play a lot of Super Show. So when it's really cool when one of us pops up and wins something, because I feel like we have a very strong competitive community. But that was really cool because Doug's a friend of mine that goes back over 20 years. To win with somebody who I've been friends with for so long was a really cool moment. It was something that I would never have predicted. I mean, we literally joined that tournament just for funsies, and we were just clicking. I mean, just that friendship when you know somebody so well and you're able to just communicate at such a level and plan things out and just, yeah, we just played really well. I remember just looking at them and we just knew each other, what we were thinking and what our plays were, and it just worked. So I'm hoping we can translate that success into hopefully another tag title run for myself. But yeah, it was a cool moment. We got, especially in the grandest stage of Super Show. I mean, that is our WrestleMania. So
yeah, you
tags.
beat us.
Oh, sorry.
yeah.
But tags are always fun. I love tagging with people that, we sit down together. Not only do we talk to each other, but I like to do hand signals. Like I'll sit here and I'll be, I'll have my cards out and stuff like that, and I'll look at my my buddy over here, whoever's tagging with me, and I'll be like saying, no, don't play that one. Let me play mod first.
Yeah, and there's some people that have some really creative tags where they'll do special gestures or and just do different things. Tag team is fun because you're dealing with 4 people in one big game. And you just have that cool, you got a friend next to you or someone special to you next to you, and you guys get to kind of do something together. I mean, me and Ciara have done some really good tag runs at some of the cons like Gen Con, Origins, things like that. So it's just really fun just to get together with somebody you care about, and hey, we're going to go for something, and then every now and then you win something and you're like, hey, that's pretty cool. You get to share that moment with somebody. So it's really cool.
So I did miss the previous question, but just to see it, will there ever be a couple tag team between you two?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we're going to be tagging possibly at Origins or Gen Con this year. I'm not sure. We haven't gotten our tickets.
Oh no, I mean as a card, yeah.
Yes, definitely. I think zombie cakes maybe.
Well, yeah, we had an early draft for zombie cakes, which is actually where the picture for Surprise Cutter came from, the one where zombies popping out of the cake. But now I might have to do something with chrono baking or something, or time maybe baking time. That'd be kind of a funny tag team.
Yeah, there you go.
Kind of on the fly there. But yeah, at some point that will happen. I think it's just been one of those things where locally we don't play a lot of tornadoes, so tornadoes from our group don't tend to crank out too often. But yeah, I think that's definitely on the bucket list for sure.
on another punny one, I suggest Bake to the Future.
There you go.
Oh, I like that.
There you go.
Yeah, Lynn and I went as the Baked Outdoors for Grand Gathering 3, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So lots of fun baking puns.
Absolutely.
And also, I was going to ask you, Chibi, how's our Twitch?
We got a lot of love from Ohio Gaming Alliance again.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And Italian Babata was very happy when you said that he was the first competitor that you were using.
Sure he was. No, I'm just
I came Gathering 1, and we became friends.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Not the cannoli, but a cannoli.
Actually, there's like 5 or 6 people. But...
Okay, so I did get distracted and didn't ask about it before, but you were saying that you have your trio, the Happy Birthday. How did that come to be? Especially with it's Chuggy, yourself, and Mr. Pop and Twist. That is one of the screwiest groups I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So he messaged me just out of the blue and was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a trio, and I really want to do a fun themed trio, and I think having the baker, the clown, and the balloon guy would definitely make a really awesome tag team, and we should call it Happy Birthday. We're coming out here, we're celebrating, we're throwing cakes and throwing balloon animals and chugging everywhere. And I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. He's like, so are you okay if I use your likeness? And I was like, yeah, I don't care. You're paying for the trio, so you create it however you want. And so he did come back and give me some feedback, and it was like, okay, so I'm thinking about doing this for the gimmick. and using all of our because all of us are like keyword gimmicks.
Mhm.
So being able to use, each one keyword from each of our, singles competitors in the trio is something he wanted to create. So I actually just built that trio. I think like the beginning of this year or the end of last year. He sent me a copy of it, and I'd been sitting on it for like 2 years. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna build this because we started a tornado and a trios division in our local. So I was like, all right, well, I probably should build the trio that I'm on. So it's fun. I played it a few times. I really enjoy it a lot.
And then because of that, you've gotten a lot more roll cards.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, the roll, twist, chug triggers all three of them, which
Oh yeah,
I find to be one of the silliest cards ever printed.
yeah, definitely.
And it's a stop. It's like, so silly.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was a good generic that came out, I think, at Gen Con last year. There's like a Finnish submission that has, I think it's got roll in it.
Yeah,
but it's really good for the trio as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's horrifying.
Like you need more.
You always need more.
Keywords are great.
So we're getting about halfway. Chibi, do you want to ask the firing questions?
Of course. We always have, at the midway point, we have questions that have been asked previously that are usually just hyper quick A or B answer questions. So you can answer them together, you can answer them separately. It doesn't really matter. First one, pineapple or sheep?
Oh god. Yeah.
Oh, that's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm going pineapple. Love me some sheep, but I'm going pineapple.
Yeah, I gotta go with my fellow Ohio pineapple. Yeah.
Pineapple.
As long as it's by itself and not on pizza. I agree.
Horse or shark?
Horse.
Yeah, horse.
Yeah. Sorry, Shaq, but horse all the way.
Well, I mean, right now he's Boombada, but
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
or Moscow Lion. I still don't understand that one much, but apparently he's a lion now. We have dog or cat?
Dog.
Yeah.
Dog.
Oh,
We have a dog named Scooby.
Neko's not going to be
Sorry,
happy about
Nico.
that one.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Nico was in here.
Of course.
She's not happy.
Can't please everybody.
Well, I mean, she has a and
Yeah.
that's the only cat.
We have Candyman Dan or Candy Ma'am.
They're both pretty sweet.
Was that a pun? Geesh.
Yeah, that's a hard choice.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go Candy Man, just because he was probably the first one I actually talked to.
Mhm.
So,
Nightmare King or the Dark Prince?
I'm gonna go with Nightmare King. He's the
yeah,
OG.
we'll go Nightmare King. Yeah, the OG.
Always good to go with the OG. Okay. So those are the questions we had of that. Do you have one extra one?
Yeah,
Okay.
because so I'm gonna say split or GPS in this robbery.
Boo.
That's just nepotism right there, man.
No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
He says he's playing. He's not.
I'm not. Wrong
GPS
answer
or
is
tag?
pizza man. Yeah,
But,
GPS or tag. There you go.
Having Bombada asking that.
GPS.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I actually built GPS. I remember I actually got from you, Dustin, when you signed. It was like one of your original copies.
Oh, yeah.
So I still have that. So
Okay.
that was something cool. So yeah, I gotta go with GPS.
Alrighty. And we have a quick question from the Dark Prince or Nightmare King or wherever he goes by now.
Go ahead and
What's up, guys? Yes, I do have two parts of my character, but for use, I will be the Nightmare King. Simple two questions each. You guys can answer them together, or you can answer them separate. Who would be your dream match in LFF, or dream opponent in LFF?
Ooh. So I'll let you go first.
Well, I think I would have to add a circumstance to it. I think I would like. Man, that is tough. I'd have to think about that for a minute. So many good players and people. I mean, I always enjoy. I think maybe playing Eevee fresh for the World Championship. That'd be pretty cool because Eevee's always been a great rivalry for me, and we've always had terrific matches. And I think we always pull for each other. So it'd be a really cool match to have us in the world title scene kind of battling each other.
That does take him having to win that title first.
Correct.
I
Or me
agree.
exploding into
I
it.
agree 100.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I would have to say, I have become really close with the Chris's out of Michigan, Chris Vaughn and Chris Randolph. And so we talked about a Grand Gathering 3 coming up with a tag team or a trio called the BB Bops. Because last when we went to WrestleMania, I took them to Bibi Bop, which is a restaurant in Ohio that like does Korean food, and they thought it was so hilarious that it was called that. So we're gonna call ourselves the BB Bop. So I definitely think like having like some sort of triad match for like tag or something, or I don't know. But I think having a match with the 3 of us against 3 other people would just be so freaking fun.
They had
Alright,
one in
fair
the
enough.
shopping center right next to Grand Gathering 3. Did you guys end up going to
Yes, we did.
it?
My last and final questions for both of you is, if you were in any company and you went after the tag team titles, which company will you go after, and which titles will you go for? The tag team wise,
Oh, so are we talking like real wrestling company?
like any companies, like AEW,
Okay.
NXT, Raw, SmackDown, any of them.
I think for my answer, definitely be AEW. Their tag division is out of this world. I mean, I'd be terrified just because, I don't know if I want someone like Penta, Canadian destroying me off a ladder, but it would still be a pretty cool thing to do.
Oh God, if I could do any, it probably would have been old ECW, and I would love to tag with Tommy Dreamer. I love Tommy Dreamer so much.
Fair enough.
I was a wrestling fan when I was in middle school, and then I kind of like fell out of it in high school and became a wrestling fan again when I met Collin. And I don't know what it was, but like seeing Tommy Dreamer on screen, especially when he was doing a lot of like Impact appearances and stuff, like I just fell in love with that man, and he's just done such goofy stuff. And then just watching some old ECW stuff, I'm just like, man, Tommy Dreamer was the man, and I don't think he gets enough credit.
Very underrated.
Fair enough. Thank you for answering the questions. Now
You're welcome.
you guys will carry on.
Okay.
Thank you, Mike.
So,
No problem.
getting back to other moments in Super Show, what would you each say is your favorite moment that you've been a part of for Super Show?
Oh, that is a good question.
So I guess I'll go ahead with this one first. I'll say what my second is and my first. So my initial one would have been that tournament on the first Jericho cruise, just because that introduced me to the game. It was so cool to play with all the wrestlers. But I think now with Grand Gathering 3 coming and going, obviously I have to go with the tag team tournament, because like I said, that was a very special moment. It kind of culminated almost a whole lifetime of friendship and this game kind of combined. So it was kind of a cool moment for me to do that. And of course, Grand Gathering is just such a spectacle in itself. So there's so many good moments there, but I think that tag tournament win for me was my favorite.
I would say for me, it's Super Show related, but not necessarily like really broadcasted. So we went down with Frequent Flyer and the SRG Mom to Nashville to see Impact's Homecoming a few years ago, and that was when Sami Callihan was the champion. And just getting to be on that car ride with them, like the way that we met was such a chance encounter. Like I put a post on the Jericho Facebook group and was like, hey, is anybody leaving from Columbus that wants to meet in the airport? And they just happened to respond. And so, we walked into the airport meeting as random strangers, and the frequent flyer and the SRG mom are now like some of our closest friends. They're definitely role models to me on how to have a great marriage, how to just be really awesome people in the community. Christy never sees a stranger. She's always making friends, and Keith is always so warm and welcoming. And so getting to like have that, 12-hour car ride there and back with them and just get to know them, and then go and experience that wrestling show, and then being able to interview Sami Callihan was just awesome. I think that's like my first favorite. I would go, my second favorite was probably the cornbread moment from Plaid Saturday. I can't forget that. I think that's definitely what solidified me as a member in the community. For some people who don't know about that incident, we went down to Plaid Saturday too. And something that's really important to me is being hospitable wherever I go. So as the kind of like SRG baker gimmick, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna bring some like cupcakes and some cookies and stuff down with me, just so that way we all have something to like snack on while we're gaming. And I made some like Amish friendship bread, which is kind of like pound cake a little bit. And we had some stuff set up, and Sammy and Madman Fulton came down, and they were playing the game, and there was this promo with Tony Gunn. Tony Gunn, and he came in there, and I'm like right behind them, and they're doing this promo because they had a match in Louisville. I just see Sammy stand up, and he goes, I'm over here trying to eat some cornbread. And I'm just like sitting there thinking, and I was like, it's not cornbread. And then I'm like, oh my God, he's talking about my food. And I'm just watching this pro wrestler grab my food and just pelt Tony Gunn with it, and then proceed to follow out the store, throwing my food at each other. I go out in the parking lot, there's cookies everywhere, and I was like, yeah, that's probably the best moment of my life for me. and then it became so popular that it became a Super Show card, so that was pretty awesome.
Spectacle throws cornbread from the ground.
I could just see a little tear right there.
I know.
Did you feel bad for the wasted cookies though?
Oh no, I don't, because the birds got some of it, and it's on video, so I'll always remember.
There's actually multiple shots from that.
Yeah.
It's good to take care of nature.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Okay, so now going into a few little current events, because those are always fun. Collin, you've tagged with the man before. What do you think that is going through the mind of Danny Thunder right now?
Oh, I don't. Can anyone tell what's going through the mind of Danny Thunder?
Oh, I know no one can truly know, but as one of his tag team partners who you were able to get gold with, like he's forsaken the higher class. He's potentially shacking up with Crime Wave, or whoever he ends up with. He's potentially throwing away a friendship with Loudmouth.
Yeah, that's rough. Loud and Grumpy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, laughed with quite a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I only got to know him for a very short period of time because our tag win was the culmination of kind of a hybrid singles tournament into a assigned partner for the second half. So that was not a conscious team that was put together. That was just kind of haphazardly thrown together, and it just somehow worked. I think, if he's leaving a higher class to go to Crime Wave, I guess that's an upgrade, right? Not a big fan of the higher class, so I guess he's looking to get himself into a position to succeed. Because I know Loud and Grumpy, I beat them at Grand Gathering 3. I know myself and Ciara beat them, I believe, was it at Origins or Gen Con last year?
Yeah, Gen Con.
So they have not, they may be friends, but their tag synergy is just not there anymore. They're getting eliminated. So I'm thinking that, maybe he just wants to move on where he can find some fresh tag team partners, or where he can maybe kind of shine a little bit more. Maybe.
Do you have any idea?
Honestly, all I know is the Grump's gonna do what the Grump's gonna do. And he's always full of surprises. He's always reinventing himself. With the Chili Willy, the whole Dr. Grumpy whatever thing he did for the time traveler thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully he finds a good home with Crime Wave. Hopefully there's not any dissension there as there was in the higher class, but who knows.
Okay. And Collin, with this year still just being at the start, I know Grand Gathering 3, you lost your US title, but you have that tag team opportunity in the future. What other things do you see in your singles career for this year? Or what are you hoping happens this year?
Well, as any year, I just plan to, play well and then hopefully get noticed by one of the GMs now, and hopefully get title shots. I still haven't had my shot at the Underworld. I actually did chase that first couple of years I was in the game. So at some point, I would definitely love to get a crack at the Underworld title. I know the current champion and I have not really had a chance to play each other. So I think, of course, it would be a funny Simon v. Simon match. And I've also been kind of, our paths this last year have been kind of parallel. He had the US title, I had the US title. So I think the Underworld is my next title I would set my sights on. But I'm actually happy to go after whatever or win any events. Obviously, I think success can come in many forms.
Of course.
To be, just have fun, play good opponents, and if I walk away with gold like I have in the past, then that's all the better. So.
Okay. Other things for the future. Any large events that you're planning to show up for?
Planning to show up for? Well,
that you don't want to spoil the surprise of some stuff.
Well, I can think of 4 this year that I'll be at. So I'm going to be at Miso's event coming in 2 weeks, I believe. Week and a half.
Week and a half.
And then Origins, I know we always plan to be at just because it's in our backyard.
Yeah.
And Origins is obviously a big event for SRG. Gen Con, I think, will repeat. And then we will probably run another creative competitor here in Columbus. And then I imagine Marktoberfest will happen again this year. So actually that's 5. I miscounted. But I think those are the next 5 bigger events I definitely plan to be at. And I know in the future I do plan to travel a little bit more. I'll have a little bit more leniency on my schedule, so who knows, I may show up on the Northeast coast at some point or down in Florida or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the Union has your back, Collin, for Miso's games.
Nice.
Which I don't know if you really want their backing. CC and CC. Okay, so both of you, they got both your backs.
The Unionverse has definitely been a really awesome part of our community. Getting to meet Joe and Cecilia and Tristam and having them be a part of our group. They live about an hour away from us, but they definitely try to make it down once or twice a month to come and hang with us. And they've just been a breath of fresh air in our group. I know last year we were getting a little worried just because, normally our group is about 14 people strong. But, life happens. People, have their obligations and, different stuff that they've got going on. So, we're kind of dwindling to about like 4 to 6 consistent players every week. And, I know Collin is our GM, and he was kind of racking his brain, like, how do we attract more people? And it just kind of was like put out in the Unionverse, because then, Joe and Cecilia and Tristam showed up. We got another local player named Lynn. So we went from having 4 to 6 to like 8 to 10 consistent players every week.
And I mean, the ebbs and flows. It's spring right now. Wait till summer. You'll get some new blood. Or usually the younger blood comes in during that time.
Yeah, our locals has also done a really good job at stepping up and supporting SRG.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's also been a big help. I think, like I said, if you had all of BCW together, there are probably about 20 of us.
Yeah.
So we're definitely not a small promotion by any means. I know we get confused a lot with Rust Belt because they're kind of our sister promotion up north. But yeah, Ohio is definitely busy SRG state for sure.
Oh, definitely. And that brings me into one other question that I had. You've both been champions in the Midwest Coast. How do you feel the Midwest Coast is GM'd? Do you think it's done well?
I guess I am actually one of the singles GMs still.
Mhm.
I kind of work more in the shadows. I don't do a lot of publicity for
Yeah.
it.
But
Dave
like
is-
the present person for singles, or as shown, was Dave Marasek.
Yeah, he's mainly our face of the division, because it actually started with myself, Dave, and Big Guy. And I guess Big Guy has taken, well, he's now kind of, I guess, immigrated to the tri-state area. But I think everything's going fine. If you look at our history with our champions, I mean, they're a good batch of people.
Oh yeah, no, they've had great champions. I mean, there's just the joke that they don't defend as much.
Yeah.
Do you feel that's?
Because if you defend all the time, it dilutes the prestige of the title.
Well, no, it's when your champion loses often, it dilutes it.
That's true.
Yeah, I think monthly, every like 3 week defenses is fine. It's just you always want your champions to actually retain, because like otherwise, yeah. Like with Deep South, we have had champions that have gone on 9-10 month plus runs, almost year-long runs with the belt.
I mean, I think at the same time too, people have to remember that this is a dice game.
Yes.
And a card game. So, you know, while you can tech and plan and strategize and, you know, run the stats in your head when you're in the middle of a match, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how well you prepare, the dice will do what the dice do. And, you know I've had a lot of matches where I came in, you know, thinking that, you know, I had my opponent and, you know, I rolled nothing but 5s and 6s. So I think that, you know, you do make a good point that, you know, having a strong champion is important. But at the same time too, you know, you're kind of left to fate in some circumstances. I know, at least with me, playing against Bob Odell, you know, I just got deck teched out. You know, and it wasn't that I played badly. It just, once he got his submission going, there's literally nothing I could do. So, you know, I think that you got to keep that in mind.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. And
someone like myself, I know more than anybody, like with my U.S. title match recently, I literally lost.
It was 4 turns. Yep.
Yeah, 4 turns. So, you know, I would love to have defended that, you know, 10, 12 times or something, and, you know, made that belt be really crazy, you know, something to stand for. But I think when you have a champion, sometimes it holds a belt for a long, long time, which we've seen locally. Sometimes you look at, is it, you know, them playing well, or, you know, sometimes locally one of us will just happen to get a competitor that ends up getting future 2020, and you go, okay, well, maybe that's just because there's a slight slant on the statistics. So again, being a game, you know, the difference between this and actual wrestling is there's not someone booking who wins and loses.
Yeah.
So you know, a title could be passed around multiple times and kind of dilute its value just on chance, you know. So it's a tough thing to gauge, because I'm also a big proponent of, there is a lot of skill in this game. A lot of people try to 90-95% dice, but I'm like, well, no, you still got to know what to play, when to play, what you put in your deck. You know, there are situations where your decision makes a big difference.
Oh yeah.
Because you look at my U.S. title match against Terry. You know, we both played very, very well, but I had some moves and tricks up my sleeves that allowed me to kind of pull ahead there. So those are things that you got to consider. But at the same time, how many titles have we seen won and lost in 3-4 turns?
Oh yeah.
Or 2 turns. I think we've seen a couple 2 turns.
We've definitely seen some 2 turns.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it is what it is when it comes to that kind of stuff. And I think it's you know, not to elude your question or evade your question with how the Midwest is going. I think, yeah, there definitely could be some more publicity and more upfront about when it's being defended and kind of move things along. But at the same time, it's kind of nice that when it does happen, it's more of a spectacle.
Oh yes.
I mean, again, the parallel to reality. When Brock Lesnar was a champion, you only saw him defend every 3 months.
Yep.
But it was a spectacle when he did. So and I think that's why we have so many titles in the LFF. You got to also remember the LFF is a roster of 1,000 some people.
And
it's hard to put eyes on every single title and also make sure that there are enough people in each division. So.
9 Super Show championships officially shown. Each region has their main title and a tag title.
Yeah.
And then there's Deep Six, Juniors, Bluegrass, Playpeer. I forgot Bluegrass was even a thing.
Intergalactic.
Intergalactic falls under the 9 that are officially recognized.
Yeah. And then beyond all the regional ones, you also have the promotional ones.
Oh yes, and then you have every single promotion has their own store champion, store underworld champion, store tag champions, and such. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of titles to go around.
Yeah. But I think it's kind of needed though, because again, we're not like a normal promotion. We have 1,000 plus people on our roster.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can't just say we have one world title and that's all we have, and 1,000 people now have to fight for who gets this next shot.
Well, I mean, people definitely treat it like there's only one prize they want, and it's the world heavyweight title.
Yeah. And if that's what you need to validate you, then more power to you. But but yeah, I think the multi GM system that was incorporated, what was that, over a year ago now? With the actual LFF titles, it's been pretty good. I mean, you actually have the GMs are now able to kind of select their pool of contenders, and it's not just everyone fighting for Kalace's attention. So,
oh god, because yes, when everyone's fighting for Kalace's attention, Kalace is like, you know what, I'm just not going to listen to any of you.
Yeah. So it's nice to have kind of that different approach. Like, for example, if I'm going for the tag titles, I'm able to work with Ev and say, hey, here's my plan for the tag titles, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas I don't have to feel like I'm one of the lost emails going to Calace every day. So.
Oh yeah, because that man gets so many every single day.
Yeah.
All right, so we're getting close to the end of the show. If anyone has a question they would like to ask, please ask it now. Otherwise, we're going to go into our little end of show segment where we ask you two to ask us a question each. Whatever you want. Dustin, did you tell him that this was part of the show this time?
No.
Of course not. Why? Why don't you ever tell them? Oh.
I like on the spot questions.
Yeah, it makes it that much harder for them. So, whatever question you guys have for either of us, for both of us.
Well, let's see. Well, Paul, I don't think I know more about Dustin than I know about you. So, so my question for you would just be, how did you get into the game? Like, what was that moment that was like, hey, I got to play this game?
So, the literal moment that it happened was at one of the PAX Souths. I was judging for Magic the Gathering, and my friend sends me a text message. Hey, there's a wrestling card game that some of our other friends saw. Go buy some of the product for me. Okay. So I'm like, I wonder where it is. When I'm on my break, I hear ding, ding, ding. I'm like, well, that's probably where it is. I pick up one of the Mr. Ray's packs for them. And it's like, okay, cool. Then at the next PAX, the PAX East, I'm judging for Magic over there. I see them again. You're like, you know what? It's fate. I'm going to go buy some product and learn how to play this game. So I learn wrong because, of course, you have one thought process and then you read the rules and go, you know what? That makes so much more sense now that I've read the rules. It's like, because, of course, us going, well, I play a stop. Okay, I stop your stop with my stop.
Yeah.
Okay, I stop your stop with my stop that stopped your stop. Yeah.
Of course, being a Magic player, yeah.
Yeah. We think about it like that. once we figure it out, fall in love with the game, mainly because it just has that simpler. It has dice, so you can't get too mad at how well you play, how bad you play. The dice will always be the thing that decides everything. Because I can win 100 turn rolls in a row, but I only need 2 to actually lose a game.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. But
I think the game also has that pure feeling where a lot of other card games try to go overly complex. They try to add mechanics as you go along, whereas this game has not done that.
Oh, you say that.
Well,
I am. Remember, I am one of the people that is now the person that gets called. Hey, we have a rules question. What does this and this and this do? It's like, let me double check my mind to see if boss has already come up with a ruling for this. No, okay, now I get to make one on the spot.
Oh yeah.
And then later someone tells boss and they go, you know what, that I like that ruling, but I don't know if it's 100% right. Okay, so what do you say is the ruling, boss? Well, that's up to the GM of the event. Well, no shit.
Yeah.
I am on call this for misos for rulings when that happens. So if I'm going to get multiple phone calls that weekend, I just know it.
Yeah, I mean, I know, I feel your pain there. But it was a good pain that for that 3-hour multiplayer rules discussion that we did for the Mudcast.
Oh my god. And that's completely out of date at this point too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you, Dustin, so being a part of the community and then kind of taking a step back over the last couple years, just to kind of work on yourself and take care of stuff at home, what are you most excited for coming back into the community? I know that you've gotten more involved in the US title, which is what you helped to create, and like what do you see yourself doing this year, getting your feet back into the LFF?
Well, I kind of mentioned, I was kind of making a little pun the other night. One thing, I gotta get this ring rust off. There's so many cards now. Like used to, I was thinking back to it, and used to you could tell me a card. You could even tell me there at one time you can mention a competitor. I could literally give you every stat or all the stats of it, all the gimmicks. I can't do that no more.
Yeah.
So I'm trying. First things first is trying to learn, you know, these newer cards and stuff while I was out. I'm getting used to them, but and they're actually a lot better. You know, a lot of these old school packs really packed a punch, just to be honest. But moving forward, I've got to say, and it's kind of funny that you mentioned him earlier, but I always say I'm like the Tommy Dreamer of the LFF. If I ever get a belt, or if I don't, I would be fine with it. Years ago, I used to be very hard on myself because, for one thing, I'm competitive. I am, but I know when, you know, I'm not like negative, but I can be hard on myself at times. And I think playing as long as I have and not ever really holding anything is sometimes it kind of makes me feel like I'm kind of washed up a little bit. But I'm just trying to stay positive and look for the future. I'm looking forward to this US this title and stuff like that, and helping it pass around to those that don't really get the opportunities or actually get a step up, or somebody that's actually somebody that's stepping up in the community, like doing good in online play and stuff like that, such as you, Collin. You know, that's why when we choose whether we have tournaments or we're handpicking people on how they represent the community. Are they always positive? Are they have they been playing well? And sometimes even for those that kind of like down on themselves, or really down on themselves, we can use the belt as a way of giving them a shot to build them up, if that makes any sense. But I'm looking forward to it. I might not be able to do every event this year, but I'm really looking forward to Origins. So that's that. I just want to get back to being as competitive as I once was.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's really, I don't think, of course, I've been here for the past 5 years, but I don't think it's that hard to catch up.
Mhm.
I think that, again, because like I was mentioning with the mechanical aspect of Super Show, I
Yeah,
mean, you still can read a card that just came out and immediately understand what it does. You don't have to be like,
yeah,
oh, what's this new
yeah,
keyword or something?
yeah.
So, I mean, the game's fundamentally the same as it was when I started. So that's always a nice thing. Is so if someone wants to return, they don't have to go through all those hoops to try to figure out these new mechanical terms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the feeling that came over me was just it's a whole clean slate, and just I love these newer players and getting to know everybody. And it's in a way it's overwhelming when you've been away from it for so long and you just come back. You just don't. I there for a minute at Grand Gathering, I just had to sit back and just be like, I haven't seen, it's like crazy. All these people are just right here, and I haven't spoke to them in forever. So sometimes it's a really positive thing coming back.
Hey, but the cool thing is you're one of the few people that were at Grand Gathering 1, so
yeah,
nobody can take that from you. I mean, we're looking
much less I.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember half of it, but I was there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, looking around, there wasn't a whole ton of returning faces, but there was a ton of new faces. So
Yeah.
It's really cool to see those folks. It's like family. You see people you haven't seen in a long time or never met in person. Because online play is awesome to connect us all, and it's kind of how we survived the pandemic. But at the same time, you see these folks you haven't seen for like King Pink was a good example. I hadn't seen King Pink for years probably. So and those different people that I haven't seen for a long time. So for someone like you, it was really cool to see you again in person, because I just haven't seen you for a long time. So, and you came back and hopefully you felt welcome, just like
I did, buddy. Like I said on last week's episode, I just felt like I just wanted to drop a net and bring everybody to locals here in Kentucky.
Yeah, and that's just one of the things that I really love about this community is that coming from somebody who didn't have a huge gaming background, learning, getting involved with this, and hearing stories from veteran players, not just of Super Show, but of other card games that are competitive. The one thing that I've heard of the most is just how sour people get, and when it comes to competition, people forget that we're playing a game and having fun. And yes, there is a competitive aspect of it, but the one thing that I will always thank Steve and the rest of the SRG team has always just been putting community and family first in this group. And the times that I've seen the community step up for one another during loss, to support one another when they're sick, seeing people support Bob when he's been sick, supporting Matt's family when he passed, and just kind of rallying around the community. Sorry, I'm trying to get a little emotional. It's just something that I love. I love it. And, that's the one thing at the end of the day that I hope that people take away, is that, we're having fun, we're shooting promos, we're being competitive, but the friendships that I've made in this community in the last 5 years are friendships that I'm going to have for the rest of my life. And I'm so, so thankful to Steve for, putting himself out there to create something that he didn't know whether it was going to succeed or not. And so I definitely give big props to him, but I also give big props to the community for being there for one another.
I think that is a perfect sentiment to leave off on. Thank you both for this wonderful hour of getting to learn a little bit more about both of you.
Yes, thank you.
Dustin, who we got for next week?
Next week's episode, he's a good buddy of mine from Louisville. I've known him for a few years, and he's been here for a long time. But Michael Bailey, the
Anarchy Son.
Yes, I love the Bailey family.
Michael Bailey, Anarchy Son, next week. Awesome. But until then, can I get a bye, man?
Before you go, I just want to thank y'all. Before they go, I just want to tell them thank you for being on the show. You were talking about the Overbees. Y'all are a good example as well. I will say that from myself. So until then, guys.
Bye, man.
Bye.